Welcome to the Sober Friends podcast. I'm Matt J. Steve is with me too, and if you've ever wondered whether you can get better without alcohol, you're in the right place. Whether you're new to recovery, have some time sober, or you're supporting somebody you love, we're glad you joined us. And this is a podcast about sobriety, emotional growth, and learning how to navigate life without having to drink over it. How you doing with that, Steve?
So far, so good, Matt.
Yay!
You know, life has thrown me some curves, and
Yep.
yesterday wasn't a great day. There were some curves thrown at me Friday, but you know, I got through them. Did what I need to do. Took out a couple tools and made sure the most important thing that I didn't drink, and I didn't, and the other thing that I didn't act out right bad. That I didn't act out badly. It's hard for me to say I didn't act out at all, but that I didn't act out badly. So, all good.
That's a hard one for me, not acting out badly when I want to.
Right. Me too. It's a work in progress for me, and I did okay with it, right? I mean, again, I'm not saying I didn't act out at all. I'm just saying I didn't act out badly.
That's the victory. That's
right.
how I look at it, a victory of like, I did the best I could here.
Right. Me too.
Yeah, I want to talk about avoidance. Avoidance is something that I deal with all the time. Doing something new. Especially, I avoid doing something new and I get stuck in patterns. I think about jobs being one of those because I get a lot of anxiety not knowing how it's going to end. Mm-hmm. So if I don't want to do it, if I'm not sure it's going to end well, because there's that possibility that things are going to go badly, and that can be a drinking trigger. I'm curious how you deal with anxiety, or I should say an uncertainty. Do you need to know how to do something and how it's going to turn out before you're comfortable doing it?
Yeah, throughout my life, I've always been uncomfortable, like a lot of people, right? Especially when it comes to work, right? I mean, there's a long time where I felt like I probably should have moved to different places to work in my career, because I could have made more money. And there was times where a sales manager job opened up, and my colleagues who worked with me on my team would say, Steve, you should go for this job. And I would, nope. Just like you said, nope. I'm not doing it. I don't know. And plus there was a little bit of, feeling like a fraud there. So there were multiple things, but absolutely, we talked about it before we started recording. I was in Vegas for some work, and just thinking about that trip and going on that trip causes a lot of anxiety. Right, because I don't know, especially getting up. Right, I got to get up at 3:00 in the morning. I got to head to the airport. When you're flying across country, typically here in Connecticut, if you really want to get any decent type of flights, you're leaving really early in the morning. And I just walking out the door, I just don't know what that's going to look like. Right, travel is horrible these days. Can be horrible these days. I had none of it. I had perfect travel, beautiful travel. But the anxiety over that. And like I said, once I got to this conference, it was fantastic. It was like, this is what I love to do when I get to this conference. I've been in sales my whole life, so I like talking to people, meeting people. This conference has a lot of past coworkers, right? So a lot of us have stayed in the business, even though we're at different companies. So there's a whole social piece to this whole thing too, not just a business piece. But just trying to pull that off trying to do that is always a lot of anxiety for me. And that was always the reason why when I got uncomfortable for a lot of different reasons, not just anxiety. A lot of times I would drink, and as I said before, you walk, if you're in the airport and you're walking by, I get to Baltimore at about 9:00 in the morning, both days actually flying to and from. And, there's your people sitting at the bar at 9:30 in the morning drinking. And I'm like, oh, God, I'm so happy I don't have to do that. I'm so happy that I'm not doing that. And then being in Vegas early Monday before anything starts and having all that time to try to figure out what to do. And then try to control my drinking because I had responsibilities. So glad I don't have to do that anymore. I'm glad I don't have to sort of fight it and think about it, and that I have other ways to relieve that anxiety. And a lot of that is talking to people, and a lot of that is preparation for me too. It's like really walking out the door prepared for the trip. And then knowing, like, hey, I've prepared the best I can for this trip, making sure that things at home are good, and everything else is out of my control, right? And the program helps me with that. The program helps me. You guys help me when I go to my meetings to tell me is like, I can only control what I control. Once I get out of town, I can't control anything that's happening at the house right in here. And like I said, if I set up proper help and procedures around that, then it'll take care of itself.
This feels a lot like control. I am thinking back to being in airports even earlier and seeing drinking. And in airports, depending on how big the airport is, those bars could be packed 7, 8, 9 a.m. Now I feel so good that I don't have to drink to get through those things, that has been lifted. And it feels like a burden that I had to live that way and that I don't anymore. But drinking was, at least in the moment, a great anxiety lifter. That it was, when I felt that way and that I was nervous, you could have a drink or 2 or 5 and feel better in the moment. Now that anxiety it hits you back, 20-fold, at least it seemed like for me. It made things so much worse. But at least it was some type of relief valve. Mm-hmm. And now I need a different relief valve. I need a way to get through that or accept it and figure out a way to do it, or else I can get stuck. And alcohol gave me some type of known outcome, at least in terms of a relief valve. If I was anxious, I could drink. Did drinking give you that feeling too, that you had that relief valve, or you have some control over your life?
Just trying to Google it really quickly, but there's a passage in our big book where it says it talks about the comfort that first drink gives you, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I was just trying to Google so I could sort of get it right without messing it up. But I, God, I remember. I still can remember. Like, we've both been sober for quite a few years, and I still remember. And we talk about it. It's talked about in meetings, and it's talked about in our readings and stuff like that. Like, I didn't even have to drink the drink to get comfort. I just had to have it in my hand. I just had to know it was accessible. Like. It wasn't always I needed to drink it and then feel better. It was like that feeling like once I sat down or once I acquired it, I finally relaxed. Like literally my shoulders would relax. And I was like, okay, I got what I need now, so I'm good for now. And you're right, because I witnessed some of that, right? This any type of work conference, to some people, it's a chance to party and behave poorly for people. And I know there's a bunch of guys that I worked with, which are younger guys, your age, younger guys. And so, you get there Monday, you got conferences all day Tuesday, and then everybody's there Tuesday night, and there's a big party where they feed you, and it's open bar, right, for all the free alcohol you want. And then it's Las Vegas, so casinos are open all night. And some of the guys I had lunch with around the big tables, because they serve us lunch, like you could just see they were hurting puppies, right? And one of the guys I know who I worked with for years said, he goes, it's not that I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't plan it to go this way. He's like saying, like he was all hungover. He's like, and this is a guy who, in the past, I'm like, he probably has a little bit of us in him. I don't know how much, but that's the kind of stuff I look at. And I've talked to a couple people who said that, I went out with the boys last night. I really, I don't need that anymore. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, I'm glad I don't have to do that, because I was able to go to this little shindig, and I'm not a gambler, so there's other things. And I know my place, right? So I'm able to go there. They had decent food, which was different than the last couple times I've been at these things. They didn't feed us well. Nice food. Got there, got my food, talked to a few people, and within an hour, I was out of there, right? And it went on for 3 hours. So within an hour after I got there, I was heading back to my hotel room, picked me up some gelato, and away I went, right? And I got back to the room, and by that time, it was like 9 o'clock. I'm in Vegas. My body hasn't adjusted. Like, I'm ready for bed at that time. So,
Yep.
And that's what I mean. I could easily get sucked up into the going out and the party and the, whatever, the flirting, all that kind of stuff that happens when you start throwing alcohol and conferences, at you. But I don't need to do it today. I have a structure that allows me not to. And the nice thing about my program is once I'm there, like I didn't have any of that anxiety, right? The anxiety that we talked about that I always had and I would have, like I didn't have any of that. The travel made me anxious. But as soon as I got on that plane and that plane was moving, like as soon as I got on that plane in Baltimore and we were flying to Las Vegas, I'm like, that's it. I'm good, right?
Yep.
I mean, worst that can happen is the plane goes down and I die. And who cares? Because I'll be dead.
Yeah, planes don't go down very often.
They don't. I talk to people like they don't. Trust me, I have no problem with planes because they just don't fall out of the sky. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, Bill. But they don't, and that's what I mean. Planes don't fall out of the sky, so I don't worry about flying. I don't get nervous flying at all. But I get nervous sitting in the airport. Like I get nervous because I've spent nights and I spent time in the airport, delays, and if you fly anytime, then you're going to get delayed. And I spent the night in Miami on this same conference. A couple of years ago, I spent the night in the airport in Miami coming home. And that's not fun. And that's what bothers me, that type of anxiety. But again, I have a program that allows me to do this kind of stuff. And again, not only not drink, but this is the key, that when those things happen, even 2 years ago when I got stuck in Miami, I wasn't an asshole to the people who had to work with me to help me out, right? I wasn't like other people. I wasn't mean, and like it wasn't up. The counter people had nothing to do with the plane being canceled that night. So the program has helped me so that, like I said, I don't have to act really bad. I can be frustrated. I can be, whatever, but, I don't need to take out my frustration on people who have no control over the situation.
I am better at that. There are times that, man, I do want to take that out on other people, and I don't want to have to make a new amends. So I try and either hold it back or like breathe through it or think through not their fault. It's the situation, it's the process, or it's something in me. That level of anxiety, especially over doing something uncomfortable, puts me on edge of snapping. That's likely when I'm going to snap.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I just got so much better. I'll tell you a quick story I think ties in some of this is we're having some work done around the house. We've done a bunch of stuff. We've got a bunch of projects going on. A lot of them are being finished up this week. One of them, we're supposed to have an awning put over our back deck, which is a south-facing deck. It's really hot. So they show up Friday to do that, and I'm out there. And I'm like, I don't need to be there. Like, these guys don't need me out there, right? They install these things all the time. But I go out there and talk to them like, hey, and when, we're talking about it, the job, and we ordered a hood just goes over the awning so it sort of protects it a little bit from the weathers and the elements. And they're like, oh, there's no hood with this awning.
Uh-oh.
Right. And I'm like, oh, yeah, there's a hood. Like, it's part. So I'm like, and so he's like, all right, he'll call back. And so I go in and pull up the contract on the computer because I didn't even, I knew it was a hood, but I didn't print it out or anything. Most of my contracts I don't print out anymore. They're all done online. And I look at it, and sure enough, there's a hood on there, right?
Yep.
And he's like, all right, well, yep, they found the hood in the warehouse. They need to assemble it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I get that shit happens in business. Like, I get it. Like, especially contractors, right? You order something that's not right, whatever it is. I get it. you know. And as I said to my friend at a meeting, I hate when it happens to me, right? I get that it happens. I just hate that when it happens to me. But I was fine with these guys. I'm like, I get it. So I asked them, like, you can't put up the awning without putting up the hood? They're like, we can, but then we'd have to take it back down. And I thought about saying, well, that's your problem, right? I thought about saying that. That's your problem. I want you to put up the awning today because it's supposed to be hot. This is going to cool off our room. And then, come back and take it down while you put up the hood. It'll cost you more work and all that. But I didn't, right? I'm like, heck, we've lived 22 years in this house without an awning. I can live another week without an awning, right? So again, right. That's me not being that jerk that I can be at times, right? And again, it's that progress, not perfection thing. I really do. I will tell you that I take a lot of pride in the progress, not perfection idea that, that I may act out, but I don't act out as badly. And I'm not that unreasonable, typically bully of a person that I was in the past. And that's progress for me. That really is. Because it was that behavior that eventually led me to be pissed off and drink with resentments and drink at people. And, it was that circle of behavior, right? Get pissed off, right. Get angry, drink, be hungover, wake up, be pissed off, say you're not going to drink again, be pissed at yourself because you have to drink. Like there's that vicious cycle that I went through for about three. I mean, it really wasn't that long for me. About 3 or 4 years, I was in that cycle where that was it for me, right? Like, I would create my own resentment because I couldn't not drink. So I was always pissed off, and I was a miserable person to be around. And today, I don't need to be that person. And so the anxiety of not knowing, and you started off with this, the anxiety of not knowing the outcome of things was big.
It absolutely was.
Our buddy Jim A says that. He always said that. He said that to me early on. He said a statement. I'm sure he heard it somewhere else. You can plan the event, but you can't plan the outcome. And I remember hearing that and thinking, that makes a lot of sense to me. Like I could plan, and I'll tell you, I use that all the time. Like I'll plan something, and then once I'm done planning it, and the day comes where it's going to happen, I'm like, okay, again, I've done all the planning. The outcome will be the outcome, Nobody wants to have a party when nobody shows up, right? Nobody wants to have that.
Correct.
But if nobody shows up, then nobody shows up. So, those are the type of lessons I've learned in this program. Like from Jim, my buddy Jim. Like he's told me that. I'll never forget that, right? And, I can forget it in the moment, but it's something that I hold dear. Like, okay, I can plan everything. And that was part because I had to leave for Las Vegas, it was the first time I left my wife for this long of a period. I left Monday. All day Monday, I left Monday at 3 o'clock in the morning and didn't get home to Thursday till about 10:30. So, better part of, 3 full days. And I had to do a lot of arranging. We have a dog that needs some care that she really can't do all of it. She can't walk it and stuff like that. So I planned all that out and I had it all done and I knew I did a good job with that. That was the difference too. I knew I did a good job with it. And when I walked out the door, I was still a little anxious over that. But I knew I did everything that I could do. And the rest was, up to God, if you believe in God, up to the universe, whatever you want to call it. But it was nothing I could do 3,000 miles away.
I am much better now at that planning and walking away saying, did I do my best here? Mm-hmm. Did I cover every eventuality that I could think of? Because there's a difference between I planned it, but I planned it and I was sloppy.
Right, I agree.
Which in the way is not really a plan.
Right.
But if I plan this out to the best of my ability and I thought through what might happen, there's always things in a plan that could change the outcome. Let's say we had like a really bad thunderstorm or something and then there was no power and you were away. That might have affected your plan, but that's out of your control. That you can't think through that. That's the rare occurrence. but you can think through, do I have the people who can come walk the dog, take care of my wife, stop in? Are there people who are on my phone list that I could call if I needed to? And for the most part, you're going to get the outcome or close to it that you can think through. But even if I did that in the past, in the drinking days, in the days where I had less tools, I still would be freaked out.
Yeah.
I have noticed that I had this spike in anxiety around my son going to college, and as things are falling into place, the anxiety hasn't lifted. It's like I found it's a me issue, that it is me trying to find something else. Okay, if I resolve that, what else could go wrong? Aha! I've got a car tax issue. Now there's no way I'm going to be able to pay that. Instead of thinking, all right, what are the ways I can take action on this? I will tell you I don't know if this is a recovery tool, but I kind of went for a walk run the other day. And the harder I push exercise, the more those feelings go away.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There's something I do with the exercise that is a benefit there, and that's a healthy thing I can do, unless I'm really pushing it in the heat or not listening to my body and then injure myself. But I do find myself going to, what is the next thing I can obsess about?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't do that obsession. I don't do that much anymore. And of course, I think we all do it, maybe to a certain extent. It's not one of my really big things. But one thing you said there before is that sloppy planning. And it just brought me back, right? I was a sloppy planner especially when I was an alcoholic, right? And it's like you said, we talked about avoidance, right? That's what we talked about at the beginning of this whole podcast, avoiding things because we can't figure out the outcome. Well, that was my whole life, right? I didn't know the outcome. I mean, here's what happened to me. I knew I was an alcoholic for several years before, I came into these rooms, and I knew my alcoholism was impacting everything around my life, yet I couldn't stop drinking. So I knew that there was a good chance, no matter what I planned, that I was going to probably mess it up. Right? That I was going to get drunk. I was going to not put enough time. The time that I needed to do work to make that plan happen, I was going to probably get too drunk that I couldn't do that. So there was a huge amount of anxiety around that whole thing. Again, self-fulfilling prophecy of me knowing that that's what was going to happen. Now, today, I don't have to do that. And I will say this is the beauty of this program, right? My wife does not know a lot of AA people, but she knows a few AA people. So I went to my meeting on Friday night, and I told her, and this is the thing I do too, and I put my stuff out there in my meetings. I put my stuff out there. And I hope when I do that, other people get comfortable enough to put their stuff out there. And I told the guys at my Friday night meeting, I'm like, listen, they all knew, I'm going to Vegas. And I've set up, they know my situation with my wife. I've got everything set up, but if shit hits the fan, like we lose power, like anything like that, like one of you guys are probably going to get a phone call.
Yep.
Right? And one of you guys who my wife is comfortable with, right? We talk about my buddy Edson and Todd. Like those are the guys my wife knows, she's comfortable. And if we lost power, I have a generator that'll run most things in my house. Then those guys would have got a call. Hey, we got no power at the house. I need you to go over, fire up the generator, get it running, get it hooked up so that Sue has, electricity. And they would do that, right? This is the whole point. Like, this is the beauty of the program, right? They would do that. And again, that gives me peace of mind. That gives me peace of mind, even if the shit hits the fan, that at least I have some outlet. And I have people I can count on. And that happens to me all the time, right? People call me, if somebody calls me and they need help, like, it's happened many times. And middle of dinner, I get a phone call, hey, somebody needs something. And I would tell Sue, hey, I got to go out, got to go out and do this. She's not happy about it, but I do it. So, and that's the other beauty, right? That type of relationships, those type of friendships in this program, they make my life so much easier and less stressful, right? Knowing I got that backstop, right? So, again, it made my trip. I had a wonderful trip. a lot of it I had no control over. The stuff that I could control, I did really well with, and you know, I didn't drink. That's the biggest thing. I came home from Vegas for 3 days and not only didn't I drink, I don't even think about it. And I don't gamble either. I was telling some of the people, like, I look at people gambling like, I don't even know how to gamble.
I don't either.
I mean it. Even the slot machines. Like, if I wanted to sit at a slot machine, I would need to go ask somebody, like, hey, what do I do here? Okay, I got to go buy a card, and then I put the card in, and then which buttons do I push to make it? That's literally how much, you know, I would need. And every machine is different, so you would have to, you know. So again, it's one of those things where, as I said, Vegas has every vice you want, right? They have every vice you want. They have gambling, they have sex, they have alcohol, they have every gambling that every, you know, addiction that you could feel there. And I love the fact that I could go there and not worry about any of them.
I don't gamble. I don't understand it, and I could see where I could get hooked.
Yeah,
spending money for something you don't get services for, or something tangible, just seems like such a waste. And I could see, with my luck, I'm going to lose, and then I'm going to be out a whole bunch of money for what? Yeah. And then I'm going to feel pain and shame, and I'm going to have anxiety that is peaking to the max. I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Thank God I don't have to gamble. Oh, my God.
But the dopamine hit of having that thing ring up and being a winner, it's like every other dopamine, right? Like, whoa, look at this. I just won $300, right? Oh, I just won $1,000, right? That's it, right? That's what we know. It's that dopamine hit that. And again, some people can go and gamble just like they can drink, right? Some people can go to a casino, bring X amount of dollars, whatever that might be for them, and gamble that. And then when they're done with that, if they lose it, walk away. And I think I could probably do that, but it just doesn't try. I just don't do it. It's just not interest to me.
If I'm going to budget money for that, I'm going to budget money for something else.
Right. I'm going to go out to a nice dinner. I'm going to go to a show, right? The same thing. I mean, shows are expensive in Vegas, but there's all kinds of shows, right? So if I'm going to...
It's different, though.
Right.
That's an experience.
No, that's what I'm saying. If I'm going to budget money, I'm not going to budget for gambling. I'm going to budget it for an experience. Right. That's what I'm going to do. So...
What brought this up for me is there's a few things going on. There is the whole college thing, trying to pay for it. I have looked at other career opportunities, got a couple hits, and even if I get like an interview, I think, oh my God, they're going to hire me and I'm going to fail.
Right.
Like things like that. I already get ahead of myself of this is why it's going to end bad. This time it's going to end bad. I've gotten through 50 years of life where I survived, but this is the time it's going to end badly, and I need to find a way through that. So here are the things I'm trying to do differently. I'm not trying to overcome avoidance. I'm trying to notice it. I'm trying to make a better goal of being comfortable around the uncertainty of having a plan of I'm afraid and therefore I'm going to try this. It's not I'm afraid and I'm going to stop doing this. A short example is I have had my grandmother purchased a whole bunch of savings bonds for me back when savings bonds had these outrageously high interest rates that don't exist anymore. Right. These things have little holes that are like a punch card reader can read. That's how old they are. But I need my grandmother's death certificate, and I don't have all the information to get that. Right. And so I have just avoided it because it's like, this is going to take me too long. And thank God for ChatGPT, because I kind of used some agentic tasks to do some research for me of the things that I need. And it didn't give me everything, but at least it pointed me in the right direction. And now I can get this done. It's not a small amount. It's a significant enough amount, and savings bonds that no longer are accruing interest. So this is a free government loan that I'm giving if I don't take that money back. I just have to do a couple of things and spend a little bit of money to get a death certificate and get the things I need to do, but it was avoidant. And I do feel a lot better when I take action. That is a nice dopamine hit. So if you were looking for, here's the definitive answer for getting through this, Steve and I don't have that. And nor do we have that for overcoming alcoholism. We have some tips. We have a tried and true playbook. There's uncertainty that we can't promise it's always going to work. And there still is that little bit of anxiety.
What we can promise, I'll finish with this, is that, as my buddy Jim Kay always says, you don't have to drink today if you don't want to. And you don't have to drink today even if you want to. And that's the key, right? That second part, that for those out there who are still struggling with drinking, all of this stuff that we're talking about, this anxiety, all that stuff, we don't have to drink over it, right? That's the key. That's what we talk about on this podcast. No matter what's going on, there's other ways to handle it without picking up that drink. And that gives you a chance to go on and have a much better life.
I hope that you've been able to get at least some things from this podcast, to put a couple things on the checklist. If these work, Matt at soberfriendspod.com. Drop a line. We'd love to hear from you. Steve, thanks for doing this today.
Thank you, Matt.
And we'll see everybody next week. Bye, everybody.